Oh man, when I saw season 6 of My Hero Academia come out, I was excited. I was excited. I saw the episode like 2 or 3 times, and I pulled out a lot. I looked into this one a lot, and I kind of had a lot of fun. So we're gonna sit here and talk about some My Hero Academia today. Well, hello, beautiful human. Welcome to Kick Up Flicks. I hope you're having a wonderful day. But let's talk about My Hero Academia. One thing I really do like about My Hero Academia is the simple fact is that they add the name and title, like as in their quirk, so you don't have to think, because this episode is a staging episode. It's staging what's happening, and the best part is you know everything, kind of like what the heroes are doing, but you know nothing of what the villains are doing. We are sitting in the same position Hawk is in. We are technically in the Liberation Army. We know about the Liberation Army. We know everything that Hawk knows. However, whatever Hawk doesn't know, we don't know. And I think that is so great, to be honest. And he's finding out a lot of information from Twice. Now, with him finding out information from Twice, we are kind of on a cusp of he has changed. He's done a 360. Now I'm going to leave Twice at the very end, only for the simple fact is that since he changed so much, we need to talk about him, especially about his quirk and what that could mean in the future. Ever since the Liberation Army and the League of Villains have come together and they have a new commander, which is Shikigari, who is training in Kyoto right now, I was like, how much stronger can he actually get? Like, if he is going to be as strong any villain for the most part, or like how far will his powers end up reaching? Because at this point in time you can't even touch him, or you can't touch his hands at all, or he will just literally turn you to ash. So I don't know how you're going to deal with that. I know speed is definitely going to be one of them, so I can see why he's probably going to want to take out Deku, but you know, it wouldn't take much to take him out, just for the simple fact is that currently Deku has a lot of flaws, and well, as far as I know, but he could possibly put up a good fight for a little bit, but just one mistake and you can pretty much call that a wrap. So with Shikigari being the commander, they also have like a political power now, which is the Radastro and Hearts and Minds party leader, which is great because all he has to do is just speak and change the hearts and mind. He's going to have all the votes he possibly wants. So it doesn't matter what the League of Villains or this Liberation Army does anymore, or what damage they cause, because they have this type of quirk. It's literally insane that they could just change the hearts and minds of people to, you know, be on their side. So it takes maybe 1 or 2 votes, you know, after a while, and eventually everybody will be on their side. So they have already a loaded team just with that, especially with Radestro's power that can actually go up, is sort of against Shikigari somewhat. So either way, that was a pretty good fight. Now I wonder how Radastro would do now, but either way, he's definitely going to put up a good fight against anybody else on the hero team. They're going to have, it's going to be a good one. But I think in the long run, he does have his limitations on how far he can go with all that. Now we're going to talk about this army that's split up by a lot. Like, for example, you have all these different Vanguard actions, right? Vanguard Action Tactics Regiments. So I'm going to call them Vanguard Action as VA. So you have the VA Tactics Regiment Black, which is only going to belong to Twice. And I'm surprised him and whoever that they were scrolling up in the backwards, that a part of that team, I wonder exactly what they're going to be doing as far as tactics go. Now, I'm pretty sure that's being close to being infiltrating or partially distracting. But then you have VA Guerrilla Warfare, which has Dobby, which Dobby, as we saw in last season, does have his limitations. But this time he's paired up with Geaton, which is who he fought during that battle. I think both of them together, Dobby can actually go more all out, because if he's able to be cooled down consistently, I think that will help him in the long term not worry about him burning out through his body. So I can definitely see that team being an amazing combo. And I think in order to beat them, you would probably most definitely have to, you know, split them up. But I'm just trying to figure out exactly what you're going to do toward Geaton to, you know, disable his power, because everything that's liquid is pretty much under his control, which is literally insane. That means he can create weapons out of thin air for the most part if there's enough moisture. Now we had the VA Intelligence Regiment, which is Toga and Skeptic. And oh, this is interesting. I like how they both, one's more physical, but I will say this, Toga does have a weakness, which is Deku. As long as Deku's there, she's going to be distracted, and that's all you're going to end up needing. However, she is very good at what she does and is very good at blending in. And both of their powers are quite strong and can cause a huge problem for the heroes, especially if you end up getting the right hero or a top hero where, they could be infiltrating the whole entire time and you never really know. And last but not least, we have VA Support Regiment, which Mr. Compress, I was like, okay, I can definitely see that, only for the simple fact is that he doesn't seem like a frontline fighter. And he kind of hard to get to be honest, when he start using his ability and you're not ready for it. But Spinner, I don't see as the strongest villain right now. I can see him having a lot of flaws, especially since he's a hand-to-hand melee person. I don't know if he would actually go up against anybody and really defeat them. So I think he's definitely in a good place when it comes to support for the most part. I don't know if you disagree with anything, just please let me know down in the comments, but that's kind of where I sit with that right there. But more importantly, let's move on to the Mastermind Doctor. Yeah, Garaki. I'll tell you this right now. He doesn't have a quirk. However, that's what the heroes thought that he didn't have, but it turns out that he does have a quirk that he implanted to himself or was given to him. I don't know exactly how I got it. Nobody really does. But I will tell you this, the simple fact that he opened up his own hospital, he was the founder for a hospital, and then he also opened up orphanages, nursing homes, and, has deals with private hospitals and clinics. He doesn't really need anyone else to, duplicate quirks or to go find quirks. He has a whole entire system that he can pull from or take from at any point in time, especially since he's a very well-respected doctor and no one really questions, especially if you have a whole entire hospital and he has one section of that whole entire hospital no one is allowed to go into, no one's allowed to ask questions about, just because he's a really nice guy. They don't ask questions. It's like he has everything that he would possibly need. He doesn't need money. He doesn't need, some villain to go out there and kidnap people, because it's all there. It's all under, his viewing. And that's a crazy amount of power for a person who was technically born with no quirks and ends up getting one. And for the simple fact that, he has all this at his exposure for such a long amount of time. I mean, think about it. He's been around for a good, probably a good 20 years, which is insane to say the least, because, of all the past that, that All Might did with All for One. Now we're going to move on to the heroes a little bit, okay? We're going to move on to these heroes for a little bit, for a quick second. Now, let me tell you something about these heroes. And Team Endeavor is, I think, pretty much a point blank, I need the job done, and it's going to be done quick. It is done very strategically. When he walked into the hospital, and then they pretty much called for everyone else to be evacuated or to be moved out. If you think about it, from the time he got to the front door to the time they got to the doctor, they were about 97% done. Not only that, but at the same time, the logistics support also communicated everything clearly to, the police officials, which is, perfect communication, perfect execution. They got what they needed to get done. They didn't harm anybody. They were ready for combat within that short amount of time, especially if it was going to go outside. I mean, if you really do think about it, all patients, 97% of all patients already evacuated. The heroes on, Endeavor side is literally on point, and they moved efficiently. Now, Team Edgeshot. Ooh, this one we're going to talk about for a very quick second. I liked me some Team Edgeshot. primarily because of how they split everything up. I like their, their logistic support that came first. Why? Primarily because, they're kind of like out in the woods, between out in the woods and the city, which they have to make sure that everything, is kind of like separated so people don't get hurt. Then you have the rear guard who is actually, what they were running down the hill, I guess to secure the people and to, make sure everybody stays safe. So that's great. And then you have the advance guards who went first. Now, one thing I really do like about the advance guard that I kind of noticed, for every person that had an AoE attack, they also had somebody who could do a melee. But then if you look at the rear guard was primarily focused on those who are good on like one-on-one. So if anybody kind of gets out, or if they need to call in reinforcements or support, you have somebody who can go toe to toe with somebody, and that is pretty great. And the one guy that I'm not too sure exactly if he belonged in the rear guard, but I think he should have been in the advance guard, is the one character who can like slide through the shadows from last season. I forgot his name, but I think he would have been a really great asset, but at the same time, they were doing it during the day, so it might have been a little bit harder for him to move. I'm pretty sure if it was a night attack, it would have been great. But just how the heroes are, forming their, their way around, I think Team Edgeshot has the advantage because I think they thought a little bit further into how they're going to break down this surprise attack. Endeavor's team, on the other hand, not necessarily so much. It's more about brute force. It's like, we'll take whatever you give. Like, we don't know what to expect, but at the same exact time, we don't really care. We're aggressive. Team Edgeshot, they're on the opposite side. They're like, okay, we're going to be aggressive, but our goal is to take out as many of you as we can in the initial surprise attack, and then fight you as however we need to from there. I think that's, two totally different aspects of fighting that I really did find from this. The one issue I found, though, with Team Edgeshot was with one of their strongest heroes, which is Kinko, which is Mushroom. And when she said, did they attack UA? Like, why is this necessary for us to attack them? And then all you had was Midnight come out, and she told her, hey, just to let you know, they've gotten too big. They're really organized. They're looking to attack us in the shortest amount of time, so we have to take action first. I'm like, okay, that's great, but does that really answer her question of, did the UA really get attacked? Like, yeah, the UA has been attacked multiple times on that. Team A, this is why they have so much fighting. They're used to fighting the League. And now they also have to fight the Liberation Army that is like this secret underground thing. So I'm not too sure if she's on the fence. I could potentially see her switching sides just because she might not agree. But I'll tell you this right now, her abilities are going to be definitely effective. And I kind of like how Midnight put it. Hey, we'll use you in the beginning, but when things start to get a little rough, we'll move you to the back. Totally agree. I get it. And I think if Kinko was to release, it would be deadly. Now, biggest and last but not least, the most important part we're going to talk about Twice. Why Twice? Why Twice? He has changed so much since the beginning. Literally, he has changed. Think about it like this. He didn't have that much control of his power, but ever since he has more control of his power, it has changed. Eraser, even if he uses his ability, will not get rid of Twice's ability. That is huge to say. On top of that, the doctor also did say, right before he turned into sludge, it goes, oh, Eraser can't erase me, right? So therefore, that's good to know. In my opinion, what I think is this. I think when Twice duplicates somebody, he creates a link from the original person to the copy. So anything that happens to this copy, it will kind of transfer into this person. Because technically, I understand he gains like the personality and traits of, whoever he copies. But at the same exact time, why would you say it in that statement? Unless it actually just happens to go straight back to Twice, and then he'll end up communicating it that way. But I believe that there is a link there. I could be wrong. You could tell me if I'm wrong, and that's 100% okay. But that's currently what I believe. And I think Hawks is right when he said you are the one person to be worried about. Why? Because he's probably one of the hardest villains to take out. You never know if you're talking to the real one. You never know where he's at. You never know who he's going to duplicate at this point in time. And Hawks doesn't know that, guess what? Eraser's powers doesn't work on him anymore. So to be honest, you might be able to erase the quirk, but you're not going to erase the quirk itself, which is the duplication process. So that makes Eraser kind of null and void throughout this whole entire thing, unless they know exactly who is duplicated and who isn't. You have to know the real one. So I think, Twice is going to be a edge that the heroes are going to suffer on. They're going to have a really hard time, and they're going to have to figure out how to safeguard from that, because if you capture a hero and Twice duplicates it, he has their, I guess, personalities and quirks that he can walk into UA without even being noticed, and that can end up causing a lot of damage. Let me know what you think about my theory about Twice and how much stronger he has gotten, or anything else that I've said throughout this whole entire thing. I know it's a little bit long-winded, but guess what? It's the first episode. It was really enjoyable. I really did like it. And on top of that, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and most of all, don't forget to kick up and not down. I'll see you the next time I post. Peace.